This is slide lecture 9, and it is called From Belonging to Attachment. You're going to find that my views on attachment are a little bit different than perhaps some that you've read before with other people on this subject. I certainly believe that we need strong, compelling relationships in order to function in the world, and that one of the chief tasks in creating an adoptive family, or when you give birth to a child, no matter how the child comes into your life, getting that loving, nurturing, interactive relationship, of course, it's hugely important, and we know it's part of what stimulates the brain and helps the cognitive processes get going, aside from just helping us to love and to feel love. But you know, this is not a well-researched topic really when it comes to adoption and brain dynamics. It is certainly well talked about, but there's a lot of myths out there about it. I mean, one of the myths is that if your child has an attachment-based relationship with you, they're going to behave. Not my experience, either as a parent or as a therapist, that may improve some of the behaviors, and certainly it allows for an ongoing improvement in the relationship, but it isn't a cure-all. And when we talk about attachment, I'm not even sure what everybody means by that. It's defined in a variety of different ways. And I think that, we know that in genetic families, that process is geared to start prior to birth, and that it's then to be really entrenched in the neural circuits in that first year. But when we get a child later than birth, and certainly if we get them at 2 or 5 or 10 or 15, we don't know exactly what it is that's going to happen in terms of the relationship between the parent and the child, and between the brains of the two people. And we don't know exactly how to stimulate that. There's lots of really good therapies out there that are attachment-based, but I'm not always sure that they're doing what we think they're doing. I do know they're promoting neural growth, which is huge, and hopefully they're helping the child resolve some of their past issues so they can live in the present and develop a future with the adoptive family. But to exactly determine that we need to have the same template in our relationships, the same template in how that happens as you would have with a genetic newborn, I'm not convinced that that's exactly what has to happen. Ken Watson, the late Ken Watson, addressed that a number of years ago, about 20 years ago, in one of his very good books, and that might be something you want to look up. He talks about the difference between socially constructed families, which are adoptive families, and biological families. And when he wrote that, I was kind of angry. I thought, oh my goodness, you're saying that my relationship with my adoptive children is somehow less than the relationship between myself and my birth child. Well, I don't think that is what he was saying, and I'm sure he would agree he wasn't saying that, and I'm not saying that either. I think that it is just as strong and as magnificent and as wonderful no matter how your child comes to you. But I'm not sure it's the same, and somehow we take being different as being less than, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when it comes to attachment, be really careful, know what you're talking about, make sure your therapist knows that you all have the same definition, that you're all after the same goal, and that you're not maybe putting the cart before the horse on this. For me, the issue is more about belonging than it is about attachment. We want to move from a sense of the child not having anywhere in the universe that is theirs, not having anybody to look at and see love reflected back at them. We want to move them into a place of feeling like they belong, feeling like they're safe, feeling like they have a place in your life that can't be replaced by anybody else. And is that attachment? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I will agree that that's the goal, and that, to me, though, is belonging. And so how do we get to that? Well, I think, start with Abraham Maslow. He was one of the big guys in psychology and looking at relationships and how humans survive. He came to his theories in an interesting way. He arrived as an immigrant off the boat with next to nothing in his pocket, truly just a few pennies. And he had to go from that into building an entire life, and that really helped him grasp kind of how how the first thing you have to do is feel safety, that the very major thing that everybody has to achieve is staying alive. So that's food, shelter, and enough clothing to keep warm. And certainly that's a very basic issue for many of the children we adopt. Their safety, their being alive was threatened through lack of care, through abuse, or through negligence. From that, once we've established, that's the physiological level, and so once we've established the physical needs, we've got that, then we move on to safety, and safety is about having family, it's about having resources, employment, a way to eat, a place to go that provides one step up from just staying alive. And after that, he talked about love and belonging, and that's where your social networks and your family and all of that comes in. From there, he went on to look at self-esteem as the next level, and then self-actualization, which is sort of really about being able to give out into the world, feel comfortable who we are, and do good and be good to the people around us. So for me, it's kind of in the middle about adoption. We're looking at love and belonging. We're looking at establishing those emotional and social networks that are so important to brain development, so important to the ability to feel that there is an irreplaceable place for us in this world and in this adoptive family. When people begin to feel safe and secure, then they start to seek out friendships. And so then they have a bit of a drive to develop the social skills that will help them have peer relationships. And again, that's something our kids often do not show great depth at. They don't have a lot of social skills. But once they feel safe enough to want friends, then they have something internal to drive them on to developing the social skills rather than just all the professionals diving in to teach them how to do it. Children who come from foster care and from orphanages, they really don't have that sense of belonging. You know, they may have felt the only place they ever belong is in sort of the outer realms, in the margins of wherever they are, because that's what was safety. So for them, that safety level that Maslow talks about is about not belonging. It's about staying as distant as you can from people. And then we bring them into the adoptive family, and we want to bring them as close as possible. And I can't imagine how confusing that is, both for their brain to integrate the very different forces that are there, and for the child to just think, you know, what is this about? If I get too close emotionally with these foreign emotions that they're offering me, then what will happen to me, because I'm only safe if I'm far away. Then, of course, you're going to get the distancing behaviors. You're going to get the inducing behaviors meant to push you away. The parent, though, probably does need to do whatever it is that attachment is to have those shared mirror neuron experiences, to have the oxytocin, the bonding hormone flowing. I truly agree that is a part that we're biologically driven to do with any child that we identify as ours, or anybody that we sort of identify in our field of responsibility and love. But I think that can be overwhelming for the child who comes into our family until they start to get that sense of belonging. There are going to be some kids who pick up on your inclusion cues, and they'll respond well to them, and that's wonderful. Enjoy them. That is terrific. But there's going to be others who either don't recognize the inclusion cues or are frightened by them and push away from them. So what are some ways to develop a sense of belonging? Well, I hope that many of the things we've talked about in this video will help you do that with your child. It's also really important to get to know your child for who they are. When they come to you, they're going to come with a huge file full of other people's opinions, but children transform with each placement. They drop or pick up parts of a personality that isn't fully formed yet, and it's just as we all do. None of us are the same in every setting we go to or every stage of our lives. So get to know the child of who they are in your home. Get them to know you. You know, they come in and you're just like another cardboard cutout of a parent. So help them to know who you are. Let them see the pictures of your life, your family before they arrived, your life. Where did you go to school when you were little? What did you look like then? What are your parents like? Your family? What towns did you live in? Give them a longer, broader picture of that so they can then see it as a timeline, and it's a timeline that they join, that they become part of. Don't expect the child to love you. You know, that's going to take time. Every time they put out those tentacles of love, it hasn't worked for them. So if they're smart, they're not going to be offering it all over the place. Don't confuse noncompliance with rejection of you, of your family either. There could be so many reasons that they're not complying, whether it's FASD, oppositional defiant disorder, who knows. But it has nothing to do with what may be developing a real sense that maybe this family is a safe place for them. Get your own needs met in other ways other than from trying to parent, at least while it's rocky or in the early stages. Make sure you have other relationships in your life that make you feel good, that make you feel valued. Don't put it all onto this new child that now they're here, everything's going to feel right for you. Because probably after the honeymoon period, that's the last thing they can do for you. Take a look at who the child is attracted to in your family. Is it the family pet, one of the other kids in the house? Is it a babysitter? Is it a grandparent or an uncle? Oftentimes parents feel threatened by that. Now, certainly if you've got a little baby in the house, it should be that you're really trying to focus the baby's attention onto the parents, that is getting established. But if they're past that stage, allow the people that they're attracted to spend some good time with them. Anything that makes the child feel comfortable, will accept some nurturing, some inclusion clues. Any of that is going to help them then broaden that to eventually include you, the parents. Again, allow for time. I can never stress that enough. This is not a problem or a challenge or an issue that's going to resolve in a short period of time. Don't force your child to get involved in things that you enjoy. Maybe you're a skiing family and gosh, you really, really want to be skiing all the time. That is super. Maybe this child's never done outdoor sports. Maybe they're just not athletically inclined. Maybe they've never skied before and standing on a mountain's a bit too spooky for them. Maybe they've never been around snow before. If they need to just sit in the lodge the first time out, go for it, or tubing instead of skiing, whatever it is. Now, of course, obviously I'm just using skiing as an example. There's 1,000 other things you may do that they don't like. Music, art, reading, who knows. That's okay. You know, they are who they are. Maybe they'll adapt to the things you like in time, but this is an opportunity too for you to grow and adapt to things that they like and bring something new into your life. Don't expect your child to feel like they belong. You know, they've never belonged anywhere. And that is an evolving process, not a beginning process. They're going to have to go through Maslow's hierarchy of needs again. They're going to have to start right at the bottom again. Am I safe in this home? Am I clothed? Am I fed? Do I have a place to sleep? And then they're going to, once they're pretty sure that's coming regularly, they're going to move on to, am I safe? Am I going to get hurt here? Am I going to get moved from here? Once that's resolved, then they can move on to belonging. It's a step-by-step process. So using all of the information we've talked about here, I really do hope that you'll see this as a process that goes into from safety to, from physiological safety to that kind of safety of stability, that things, their needs are going to be met, and from there on into belonging, and from there on into attachment, and however you may define that. So I hope you've enjoyed this course. I hope that you will be interactive with me, either through the Udemy course itself. You have that on the side of your screen. I do check that weekly. Or perhaps you would be more interested in emailing me privately. That's brendamccrate@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your input, and have any discussion with you. Thank you so much.